to infinity and beyond!
This is me. This is how I win.
Were you rushing or were you dragging? Answer!
You're a wizard, Harry.
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you.
No. I am your father.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
And here we go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back inside the film room. Zach Goins here with Johnny Sobchak. We missed you last week. Where were we? We were missing in action, but now we're back. Johnny, how are we doing today for another fine episode of Inside the Film Room?
I'm feeling pretty good. Based on all the exciting news that we have to talk about and fun shows and movies that we are keeping up with and are going to be discussing. It's a good time of year. We're really getting into starting to meander into the thick of it as far as, the Emmys are tonight as we record this. And we
may have some breaking news as awards are announced. We might have to hop in there.
Right. Yeah. Breaking news banner coming right at you. But so we got, Hot D is hotter than ever this week. We also have spooky season kicking off with Barbarian in theaters, was #1 at the box office, overperforming, which is great to see. Just tons of other stuff, new shows that are going to be kind of kicking off in the near future as well. And of course, the festivals, film festivals are all around the world at the moment, and we'll have our own in our own backyard not before too long, so we'll have coverage on that. But yeah, it's just a fun little time, and I was able to hit the theater, and looking forward to hitting the theater again this week because we have some other new releases of Pearl and The Woman King. So it's a good time to be
it's a great time. And the reason that sure, festivals are happening, literal award shows are on, but the reason it is award season is when that Johnny's Awards Radar special drops, when you get that notification that there's a brand new post on InsideTheFilmRoom.com for Johnny to break down all of his predictions. That's when we're in the thick of it. Johnny dropped his extensive preview on the site this past week, breaking down all the categories, all of the predictable categories at this point, that not predictable as in easy to predict, predictable as in able to predict at this point. Really great stuff. It's up there on the site for anyone who wants to look at it. As you know, Johnny is the awards expert here, and basically, if you are already invested in award season, you're going to want to look at that to get ahead, because his picks are usually pretty on point. And if you are not invested in award season, you want to still check it out, because it'll tell you what you need to watch so that you can at least be able to keep up with the conversation. So be sure to check that out. It's the first of at least 2 or 3 rounds of predictions he's going to produce. So it's good stuff. I would highly recommend it.
Well, thank you, kind sir. Yeah, it was a fun time kind of trying to get to the deadline with that one as Venice was kicking off. And I stuck to my guns. I had some predictions that were very far. But I think the fun thing about festival season is that we do realize that, it is unpredictable. Some things are predictable, but a lot of times there are things that you totally don't expect. So I know people in Venice and Telluride in Toronto are all seeing the films for the first time, and predictions are going, you have movies that are gaining a ton of traction that people weren't really expecting. And then you have others that were expected to be major contenders that are completely falling off a cliff. So I think that's always fun. And, by the time we see these movies, we'll be pretty well established as to what's going to be going down the line for contention. So it's exciting. I appreciate you shouting that out. And yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and check it out on the website. And throughout the season, as Zach was alluding to, I will be making updates and also seeing how things go. And I'll have other, movie reviews for the festival films and things like that. So again, it's one of the best times of the year.
It definitely is. But we've got plenty to talk about. Like Johnny mentioned off the top, we're talking Barbarian as our movie review this week. Great little horror thriller that should be on everyone's radar. And then we're talking about House of the Dragon episode 4. Probably going to touch, I guess, dip into episode 3 as well, since we didn't have an episode to talk about that. But focusing on 4, everything that's going down in this week's episode. And then we will be, or I guess not and then, and to start, we'll be talking about the news, everything that happened over the last week, talking about the upcoming movies, new trailers, Disney recap from D23. So a lot on the radar. But as always, first up, what's going on for myself? I told you we were cruising, we were moving and grooving when it came to the morning show. I finished season 2, so I'm officially caught up there, continuing on my Apple TV Plus binge. But I'll say, really enjoyed season 2 still. Not nearly as good as season 1. Season 1 was top-notch stuff. But season 2 had one really fantastic episode. The rest was like up and down. But I will say, after watching all of it, Billy Crudup, UNC alumni, absolute psycho in that show, and I love it so much. He's the best character on the show. Forget Reese, forget Jen. Got to go with my guy Billy. He's awesome. And then the only other show that I've been keeping up with everything that I've talked about for weeks, but since we didn't podcast last week, we didn't have a chance to talk about Rings of Power.
Ooh.
Which I know you have some feelings about. I am surprised at my feelings about this, because anyone who listens knows that I am not the diehard Lord of the Rings fan by any means, but instead am just kind of lukewarm on those movies. But I'm very impressed with the show so far. I have not watched this most recent episode 4, or is it 3? 3, I guess.
Yeah.
But the first 2, the doubleheader premiere, loved both of those. Thought it was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely beautiful TV as far as the visuals. And I know we've said it time and time again over the last month or so as we're getting ready for this era, but fantasy fans in general are just absolutely eating at the moment. So,
well, I'm pleasantly surprised to hear that, because you have not chimed in at all, even in the group chat, about watching Rings of Power. So I had no idea that you were even caught up. But
the group chat is just it moves so quickly.
Zach he's too busy. He's too official.
No, I'm working. Like, I don't know if this is the same for you, but like when I'm working, like at my day job working, it's just like time. I just get like everything is always going on. It's so like I'm fully immersed in it. And then like I look up and I'm like, oh wait, there's 30 messages in here. There's 50 messages. And then I like start to read it back and I'm like, oh, I'm going to say something about that. And then by the time I actually read it all and get caught up, that was like 6 topics ago. So I'm like, well, damn.
No, yeah.
I'm not too good for you, I promise.
No, I definitely hear you there. But no, yeah, I agree. I thought that I tweeted about it just a little bit, but I really liked the first 2 episodes. I have not gotten to episode 3 yet either. I may watch that tonight, potentially, but I do definitely plan on getting up to 3 and 4 by the time this week rolls around to get that new episode. So definitely liking it so far. And yeah, fantasy fans are really in I mean, I don't even know what you would call it, like a golden age, I guess, kind of shows and even films to some degree, you know, Dune kicking off, which is kind of fantasy. So we got all types of stuff to look forward to there. And of course, Barbarian, which we'll be talking about later on in the show. But I'm glad to hear you like that. On my television front, my main fixation has been Barry, as I've told you.
We're having a showdown tonight at the Emmys, my guy.
We are, because I'm all for I'm red-blooded Barry, and you are very much the originator of the lasso lunatics. So I best of luck, I'll say, to keep it pleasant.
Well, I will say, before we get into Barry, I fully expect I'm on board the Bill Hader train for best comedic actor. However, I still have faith that overall they're going to give Hader the nod there, but overall Lasso will still win comedy series. We'll probably be interrupted during this broadcast. I don't know. Well, I don't know. The Emmys is a very long show and it is just now getting started, so maybe not. But I may have to eat those words, because Barry has been surging big time here at the end.
It is, and that makes me very happy. I hope my one thing more than even it winning the best comedy series that I like to see is Anthony Carrigan for supporting actor.
NoHo Hank. Oh,
Noho Hank is one of the best TV characters like in recent memory, I would say. So, and he's gotten nominations before, but he has not been recognized, I feel like, as much as he has. And this was his best season yet. I think you would agree.
it's so sad because Rebecca and I love NoHo Hank, and we try and like quote him and do his voice, but like we don't do it justice because it's just like so perfect, and I can't live up to the hype of him.
Oh
But
no, he has the juice, man. Like
the fact that people are having to pick between NoHo Hank and Roy Kent for supporting actor in a comedy is devastating. But you know, even throwing in the fact that Gene Cousineau, Henry Winkler, is in there as well, like man, and then you've got two other Lasso cast members in Sahib Jamoh and Nick Muhammad nominated. So that's just like an absolute gauntlet of a category.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, maybe I was zoning out because I also do have the Emmys on right now. But
I do as well in the bottom corner of my computer screen.
Yeah, but yeah, Henry Winkler is just also phenomenal, and this may also be his best season potentially on Barry, and he's also in that same category. So, yeah, it's a embarrassment of riches. I think we can agree. But Barry overall flew through it pretty quickly. It's a shorter show, thankfully, and I will say, and I was aware of this in real time as the last couple of years have gone by. But let me say, I'm so glad I was late to the party with this one because there was a solid 2.5, 3 years between seasons 2 and 3.
Yeah, it was a long wait.
It was, I mean, I don't think I could have survived that, especially the way that the season 2 leaves off. But, and speaking of ways, the things that are left off, I have no idea what to think of where this show can go from season 3, but I think season 3 is quite possibly the best one yet, and it was just an amazing beginning to end kind of. It's honestly, it does give me a lot of just the absurdism and like the really dark humor and things like that. It kind of reminds me of Atlanta in some ways. I know you haven't really seen that, but that would be like the closest comparison. And Hiro Murai, who has directed episodes of Barry, also directs. He's like the main director on Atlanta. Which I found really interesting, and you can definitely get the same vibes from those episodes. So, but I'm a big fan. Can't recommend it enough, especially as far as like comedies, quote unquote, are concerned. Even though this is much more of a dramedy and like dark comedy in a lot of ways. Definitely recommend. And I don't know what I'm going to be on to next. Of course, still watching Hot D, watching Rings of Power. Barbarian was my only movie the past week, but as for the next show, I'm not totally sure yet. I know the Sandman, as far as fantasy stuff, we were talking about that. That's a big hitter on Netflix right now. I'm kind of interested in checking that out because I know it's a little bit on the spooky side of things, but yeah, I got to figure out what's my next move.
Well, let's get into the current move, like you mentioned, House of the Dragon. Well, do we want to talk House of the Dragon or do we want to talk news first? It's your pick.
Oh man, yeah, you put it on me there. Well, I mean, you had such a beautiful segue, and then
it was a great segue. I kind of butchered it.
Do it. We're gonna do the news now, which is fine by me.
Okay, news, take it away.
And speaking of news, and this is my bread and butter right here. Damien Chazelle, one of my top directors of my lifetime, I think I would say, especially the last 8 years or so with Whiplash, La La Land, even First Man, which I know is kind of overlooked, I feel, in a lot of ways. His new film Babylon, his biggest and baddest yet, you might say. We got a first look last week. Vanity Fair did a cover of that, or not even a cover, but just kind of a first look special. And we got images from the film. We got pretty much all the main actors, main characters, including Margot Robbie, Brad Pitt, Diego Calva. I know Gene Smart is in the film. Tobey Maguire is in the film. So it's a stacked cast. It's not even coming close to covering everyone who's going to make an appearance in this thing. But we got a feel for the look of the movie, the costumes, the period piece designs. It looks spectacular. It looks like Gatsby on steroids, as we had kind of heard previously. And then today we got some reactions out of people that got to see the trailer at TIFF in Toronto. And then the trailer is coming out tomorrow, and we all got a look at the posters today for the characters. So this is my most anticipated movie easily of the rest of the year. It was by and large my most anticipated from day one on January to now, but the Batman was certainly in that conversation right around there. Spielberg, Scorsese, which doesn't look like it's going to come out this year, but Babylon right up at the top. And what I'm hearing from the trailer, what I know of the scripts and everything else so far, I just can't wait for people to see more of this. I can't wait to see footage. I obviously have not seen any footage yet, but I just know it's gonna be special, I think. And Margot Robbie quite possibly gunning for that Oscar. Brad Pitt may be in conversation for Oscar #2 as an actor, and any number of other, I mean, this is something we're looking at, just talking about Oscar potential, 11, 12 nominations, easy, maybe 4 or 5 wins. And just, I mean, Oscars aside, the premise behind this, kind of like a Great Gatsby, but also like Singing in the Rain, kind of looking at like old, like golden age Hollywood making a transition to sound and that sort of thing. I'm really excited about the potential there, and it's going to be an epic. I mean, we have all these characters. It's probably going to be close to 3 hours. It's a hard, like, strong rating of a rated R, and lots of sex, drugs, and that good stuff. So I'm
The
really
best stuff.
we don't the best stuff. And we don't really get movies quite like that too often anymore. I mean, that are really big gamble. I feel like this is something of a gamble. Like, budget wise, this thing's gonna be close to $100 million in that neighborhood. That's not including marketing, and this is purely theatrical. This is gonna be a Christmas release, limited, and then it's gonna go wide in January. Hopefully, with the awards buzz, it'll get the box office it needs and get a solid return. But all that aside, yeah, this is just something I've been looking forward to for a couple of years now, and I'm curious. You're a big Chazelle fan as well, certainly. But
yes,
what are your thoughts so far on what you've heard and seen?
Definitely big Chazelle fan. I will say, like, through the roof on Whiplash and La La Land. Not nearly as high on First Man, as that's like one of your all-time faves.
Yeah.
But was not as high on that. I probably need to revisit it, honestly. I will say, I think I've told the story on here before, but that was a movie that we saw as a football team before a game. And let me just say, not the right audience. Those guys were not having it. They needed some blood, some explosions, and it was not giving them what they wanted. But meanwhile, me and Jake were sitting in the theater like, shh, please be quiet. We're trying to watch. But no, very excited for this as well. Looking to it's obviously like that major celeb A-list cast. Liking everything that we're seeing so far from those first look images. Excited for the trailer tomorrow. But yeah, just excited to see what comes next, because it's kind of like back in the Hollywood bag, which like La La Land kind of what was very much in, and also in the musical bag that he mentioned, that this is like bringing music back to the screen, which obviously was not the case in First Man. Right. But I have full faith in this, full trust in it, and it's based on like everything that we've seen and heard, and then some of the like casting calls that we've seen. It just seems like it's going to be nuts. So very much here for that. Like you said, the sex, the drugs, all the good stuff.
Yes, absolutely. That should be our new tagline for the podcast, actually.
Sex, drugs, and all the good stuff inside the film room.
So no, I'm obviously in agreement with you there. So really, really can't wait for that trailer tomorrow. I think it's going to be one of the best of the year. But speaking of trailers, we've been sated pretty well, I would say, over the last few days. We have no shortage of items coming out of D23, and DC Comics didn't want Marvel to get all the thunder, so they had something of their own. And then Spielberg, his latest, premiered at TIFF, and we now have our first look at that. So coming off the top at D23, you got the Disney side of things, the Marvel side, Star Wars. Marvel first, Werewolf by Night finally got confirmation that this project even exists. It was pretty poorly kept secret, let's say. And Michael Giacchino, the famous composer, Oscar-winning composer behind multiple MCU films, but also the Batman and some Pixar films, he is directing. This is his first directed project, from my understanding. And it's going to be a special presentation, is what they're calling it, a Marvel Cinematic Universe special presentation on Disney Plus next month for Halloween. What do you think of this? It's a very different type of project, it looks like, by all accounts. And I can see why maybe they felt comfortable letting Giacchino just kind of off the leash for this one. I don't know too much about these characters or like this side of the world, but I'm interested.
Yeah, it's very, every time that they've come out, so many different times they've said like, oh, this is like, we've never done this before in the MCU. This is different from what we've done. This is Moon Knight and it's gory, or this is WandaVision and it's old TV. No, this is different. This is the first thing that I've seen that is truly like very different. And it even like goes as deep as to like the way that they do the introduction of it, that it's not, the classic like Marvel Comics scroll or whatever, the Marvel Studios scroll, but instead it's this very different special presentation. But I'm interested to see what it is. It seems like it's going to be very much its own separate standalone type thing. Like you, I don't know any of the characters really, but Gael Garcia Bernal is leading the way here. Very talented actor. So you know what? If it's different, it's enough to like stir the pot for me, because anyone who listens to this knows that we're kind of waning on the MCU. So anything to mix it up is very much appealing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm with you there. And I think, hey, if nothing else, it's just a 30 to 40 minutes you just blew on Disney Plus. Not a big deal.
Is that all it is? 30 minutes?
I'm not sure. I would imagine it's not like feature length, is my understanding, but I think maybe it's an hour or something.
Okay.
Because I know even with these Disney Plus shows, they say, oh, they're an hour long or six. They're usually like 40, 50 minutes or something, I think, from what I usually see. So we'll see what that looks like. But the other big MCU related trailer we got was for Secret Invasion, which is the next major Marvel Cinematic Universe Disney Plus show, and that is going to be the first one to come out early next year. I think that's like first quarter 2023. I'm not totally sure. Maybe I'm just so burnt out, like it's hard for me to connect with any of this, because none of this was really moving the needle for me necessarily. But I thought it looked cool, like enough. It's definitely looking more serious than a lot of the stuff we've been seeing so far, especially on the Disney Plus side.
Mm-hmm.
I know they were saying previous to this, like Comic-Con, that it was going to be more similar to the Winter Soldier in tone. And I think that you're seeing that I'd say it's fairly accurate just from this little glimpse that we got. Looks like Nick Fury, which I didn't really know that Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury is really going to be the lead, it seems, by and large, which is kind of cool. I wasn't anticipating that. And then you have some other returners like Ben Mendelsohn as Talos. And then we also have newcomers like, of course, Emilia Clarke as a character who I am not overly familiar with at this point, as well as Olivia Colman, Oscar-winning actor there. So they got some impressive.
And Kobe Smolder's back as well.
Kobe Smolder's back, and was it Renee Jean Page is also added to the cast. He's also one of the newcomers there. So they did not slack on adding some pretty well-known people or like familiar faces. But I'm not entirely sold on like this premise or like what they're going for here, like story-wise. I mean, I'm more interested in this than some of the more recent shows like She-Hulk or Moon Knight. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I feel like all these are just kind of running together in my head for the most part. Werewolf by Night was really standing out by comparison. I think we would agree. So we'll see what comes around. But I thought it was an interesting, good first look at footage.
Yeah, I feel like this trailer did not necessarily like move the needle for me one way or the other. It looked interesting. I'm intrigued by the whole like they came out and said like this is a spy thriller, like a espionage show or something like that. Right. So that's intriguing on its own to me. But I think the biggest appeal here that this has working for it is that like so much of what we've seen with Phase 4, with the exception of I guess like Spider-Man was its own thing basically, and then Doctor Strange, but a lot of it has been like the new moving forward, building these new characters, starting off fresh. And this is one of the first pieces that is like picking back up where we left off. Like we had, I don't remember at this point what post credits it was. But like Nick Fury was actually on a spaceship with the scrolls like
Yeah.
out in outer space. But I'm intrigued to see like how we pick back up where we left off. And just like go from there. So that's exciting to like be back with those characters rather than some of the newer stuff that has not been super compelling to me.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I feel like we're pretty much on the same page with both of those. And She-Hulk is still ongoing. We don't really know how people are going to feel at the end of that run. It's been kind of, I'd say, pretty rocky terrain for the reception for the most part. But I think this is something that's like, it seems like a pretty safe bet, or like a solid project to maybe get people back on board, at least with like the Disney Plus stuff. I think that it seems like it's a little bit more what people are like seeking out, maybe, or in the mood for at this point. So we'll see what happens with that. But that was really all Marvel did. They did not have any major. I was expecting maybe we'd be talking about Fantastic Four casting, or we'd be talking about a Deadpool announcement.
They also came out with the Thunderbolts.
That is true.
No footage or anything, but they announced the lineup basically, which was heavily rumored for a long time. But you've got Yelena in there, Florence Pugh leading the crew, which also has I know we've talked about it on here because we talked about Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp. We've got US Agent in there. We've got Winter Soldier. Who else is in there? I'm trying to think of the photo.
We got what would we say, David Harbour as
Red Guardian.
There's also Val, of course.
Val is leading the crew.
She's I guess the
Amanda Waller of this.
But I would say, I mean, there's been some criticism. There's some criticism about that. We'll talk about this briefly since it was news, as you mentioned. It's a little samey as far as the roster. How do you feel about that? Super Soldier, Super Spy, Super Soldier, Super Spy, and then Ghost, who's the only one with powers.
Yeah, a
real different skill set as far as her powers go, I should say.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to. I don't know. It's interesting having Winter Soldier in there because he is like the only holdover, I would say. Versus like all these new faces. I'm excited just to have Florence Pugh. Like I like that character and obviously love her. So excited to have her be taking the reins here. Hopefully we can have some fun there. So that's promising, but I know we'd previously said I don't see why we're bringing Ghost back. We'll see what happens. But none of the other characters are particular like showstoppers for me, I would say.
And I think I saw some other people was pointing out that not only is that kind of boring, but like Marvel's kind of put themselves into a corner here because they often kill they kill off a lot of their villains. I think is something that people have complained about in the past. So there's not a lot of opportunity to like bring them back necessarily. Like, you could have like a Killmonger. You could have Ironmonger from like Iron Man, like way back in the day with Jeff Bridges, for example. You have also that Whiplash character from Iron Man 2, who has like a pretty cool power, like the Mickey Rourke character. So there's like a few, interesting wrinkles to that whole conversation, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm not totally writing the movie off, but it is giving like, if the Suicide Squad was like C and D list villains for DC, this feels like, I don't know, just like still mid-tier stuff, but it's less exciting because it's not really necessarily like really villainous villains, and we know it's not going to be rated R. We know it's not going to be too dark or like anything crazy stylistically, I would assume. But we'll see. It's a ways off. It's about 2 years away, just under 2 years away from release. So we'll be seeing more about that. But along the Disney lines, moving along here, Star Wars, we can touch on that briefly. We had Mandalorian season 3. We know it's coming next year. We don't have a set date yet, but it's going to be 2023. And I believe they're already finished completely with filming that. And we got a new trailer. And then we also got Andor final trailer before that releases its first 3 episodes, which I believe is coming up later this month. So I know you're pretty buzzed about Andor, from my understanding, more so.
Very much.
Mandalorian remains my sole Disney Plus like Star Wars I guess obsession to some degree. I really liked season 1 and 2. and I like what they did with Grogu and the Mandalorian himself and the other supporting characters. So, and I feel like that world, I feel like Mandalorian has certainly been better than Boba Fett, and also I think most people would say it was probably better than Obi-Wan to a
Oh,
large.
for sure.
So that's still their golden goose. I'm hoping that they don't mess it up with season 3. But I liked this trailer. I thought it showed some neat shots. I like the shot where they drop out of the ship. I thought was really cool with their jetpacks. And then some really adorable Grogu moments, which certainly helps. But I'm a little curious. Like, I thought the whole point of season 2 is that they were going to be separated. So now I don't know what's happening here. Am I crazy? Am I imagining?
Well, that was the whole point of season 2, and then in Boba Fett we got the reunion, if you recall.
Oh, I did
where,
not watch Boba Fett.
Oh wow, devastating.
I do remember that they brought him to meet or see Grogu.
You need to go not watch Boba Fett, but watch basically the 2 episodes when Boba Fett turned into Mandalorian season 2.5. Because those were the only 2 good episodes of that show, and it was just like straight up no Boba Fett, just Mandalorian.
Okay.
So at least like watch those to bridge the gap before season 3 arrives, but they are reunited and brought back together as a team there. So you are right about season 2, but then that happened. But super excited for this. I'm with you. This has been the best show by far. And I'm excited to keep going there. Very excited to explore further the Mandalore culture. I know just for, like, I haven't watched all of the Clone Wars show, but just knowing that and Rebels and like all of the animated series go very deep into like the fall of Mandalore and everything, that this is going to continue to explore, like with the Bo-Katan character and her role in that, and the seeming rivalry that's being set up between her and Mando over the Darksaber. But really cool to see a ton of different Mandalorians in action here. I love the line, "Oh, you thought your dad was the only Mandalorian," whatever she says to Grogu. But yeah, I'm very excited for this. Can't wait till we don't have an official date. They said 2023. So we'll see when that comes. But I'm also, like you said, very excited for Andor. This looks very promising as someone who loves Rogue One. And loves this era that they're exploring. The very, the way that Marvel said that Secret Invasion is like an espionage thriller, that's what I think we're going to get with Andor. They've come out flat out and said you need 0 Star Wars experience, Star Wars knowledge whatsoever to watch this.
Okay.
I'm sure that it'll help inform things, but like Rogue One, they really went for the just like, this is a spy movie in the Star Wars universe. I hope that's what they're going for here. I would imagine it is. Right. But I think we'd mentioned it in the past on this podcast, but the best thing about this is that when we talk about MCU shows looking flat, or even as great as Mandalorian has used the like digital sets, some of the stuff in Obi-Wan looked flat, or in Boba Fett did, but they built a miniature city basically for a lot of Andor to use. So excited to kind of see the scale, the scope of this, like we've been seeing with House of the Dragon, with Lord of the Rings, the other things that really have like expanded the TV filmmaking.
Yeah. No, I mean, definitely a good point. I will say, yeah, I mean, Andor does look quite impressive visually. I feel like they went the extra mile and are showing off the budget there, which, rightfully so. So I'll keep an open mind. I'm not like amped for it, and I'm not necessarily like locked into watching it, but I'm not gonna write it off either. So that's a little ways away. But last thing on D23 we'll touch on as far as trailers goes is the Little Mermaid teaser. It was very short. Only I think one line that was sung by oh gosh, what's her name?
Halle Bailey.
Halle Bailey. Yes, Halle Bailey. So Halle Bailey is starring as Ariel, and we got just a glimmer of her. Her pipes are out of this world. She looks great. I think she's gonna make an amazing Ariel. I'm not like a huge fan of The Little Mermaid. I've only seen it like once or twice, maybe. But it has excellent music. It's a beautiful movie. I'm not sure how I feel about the look of this so far. I mean, we only get a few shots as mentioned, but I thought it was a good little taste, at least. It doesn't show very much at all, but I think it got enough nostalgia flowing for the average person to be like, okay, I want to see more. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into it. This is not one that I'm like anticipating by any means, just because I don't have a connection to The Little Mermaid like you. I probably watched it once or twice as a child, but haven't watched it since then. But looked good, sounded good. I'm excited to see her take on it. I'm not a huge Melissa McCarthy fan who's playing Ursula, so we'll see what happens there.
What the hell?
Yeah, that's the way to bring it down here. But we'll see what happens. It looks to be, just based on this very, very quick snippet, it looks to be one of the better live action adaptations of a Disney movie. So that's putting a lot of faith and stock in this minute of footage, but we'll see.
Hey, I'm with you. I think it'll be a fun one. Hopefully. As someone who's not been high on Disney in general, but especially these live action remakes. So fingers crossed. But I think if nothing else, Halle Bailey is gonna really explode coming out of that.
So we just had to take a moment here because, as you know, we are watching the Emmys live while recording, and I had to pause to compose myself because my queen, Hannah Waddingham, was just upset for supporting actress in a comedy series. She's cheering on proudly through the pain, but I'm crying on her behalf. This was devastating. Johnny, back to you with the news.
Take it away. Yes. So, we talked a lot about D23. They had a wealth of trailers coming out of there. A couple more exciting, at least for me, especially one of these more than the other, probably. Let's keep it in like the superhero blockbuster realm for a second. Black Adam, NFL kickoff Thursday night. It was major. And they got a nice little slot in there to show off this trailer. What did you think? Did you see this during the broadcast? Were you watching football? Because I did not get to see it or come back to it until afterward. But
I think I watched it on social. It is what it is at this point. I'm not any more or less excited for Black Adam. I'm just ready for it to happen. The hierarchy has been about to change for a very, very, very long time, and I'm just ready for it at this point. But I will say I saw a side-by-side comparison, and it showed some adjustments that had been made with that last trailer, I guess the first trailer. It got some criticism for like the stereotypical like
Middle Eastern
Middle Eastern filter, all of that, and that seems to have been dramatically adjusted here in this new trailer. So I would only imagine that that's going to be the case in the fully released film. So at least that's promising that, one, they're changing from that like stereotype that people are so tired of, and also that they are just like listening to feedback and still making adjustments while they can. So shout out to Dwayne for listening to the people. He's the people's champ for a reason.
Yes, I'm sure the Rock, as people were pointing out on Twitter, is busy working away in the editing room, coloring the film for them. So we'll take it. We'll take what we can get, because the trailer overall, I would say, was better, definitely better than the last one. I was really not a fan of the last one at all. So this has me feeling a little bit more like cautiously optimistic, maybe, about the movie. Some cool action, some cool like effect shots, some just cool like set pieces. It looks like we're gonna get out of this, because ultimately what this trailer kind of tees up is that it's almost they're talking to Amanda Waller, kind of working with Waller. It's not the Suicide Squad, but it is the Justice Society, which is kind of a precursor to the Justice League. And they have some cool members on there. That includes who do we have? We have Dr.
Hawkman,
of course, Hawkman, Cyclone,
Atom Boy, Atom Man, whatever Noah Centineo is.
Atom Boy Man. Yes, the Atom, I believe, is also going to be part of the group. Yeah, Noah Centineo. So good group there. And I don't know. I guess we gotta see it to just really feel how this is gonna play, because I'm still a little like skeptical, even with The Rock, even with all these cool action scenes. it just comes off like the lines and like the story. Just feels like something we've seen before. Like it feels a little too overly familiar for me. But I'm keeping an open mind. Like I said, it's really we had the Batman earlier this year. This is the second DC film of the year. Definitely don't expect it to come anywhere close to the greatness of the Batman, but it could be a fun time at the movies, if nothing else. And I'm curious to see, I hate to say this, but what is it going to set up? Where is it going to go? Because I feel like The Rock has been teasing, it's changing the hierarchy of the DC universe. It's a new era, and I'm just curious to see what that man is cooking up.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I will say that Amanda Waller, it was confirmed that the Amanda Waller stuff was filmed in reshoots. So interesting to see how they're gonna like fit that in now that they're like making those changes to it, and to see how much the story changed. But we'll see. Johnny, final trailer here before we get into House of the Dragon. This is the big one. We've got certified, what's the word I'm looking for here? Verification that this is in fact the real deal within our group.
Yes.
Take it away.
The OG, original host, co-host, and co-creator, Jake Lawler. He's been at TIFF. He's been rocking the industry as of late, and that includes taking over the Six up north. And the Fabelmans was, I believe that might have been the last thing that he got screened. Before Chevalier, but he loved the Fabelmans, Steven Spielberg's new movie. Steven Spielberg was in the house when he saw it. I'm sure that had absolutely no impact on his feelings about the movie, but he said it was 5 out of 5, masterpiece. He was on cloud 9 coming out of there. And after this trailer, I can see why. I feel like if you love movies, if you love cinema, if you're in love, if you grew up with Spielberg in particular, and you have a heart for like filmmaking and art in general, I feel like this movie is really going to strike a chord with you. And that includes myself. I feel like I'm going to be like just a wet like baby at the end of this movie, or throughout the movie. Because I like the cast a lot. Michelle Williams, she's coming for that Oscar. Already got her number 1 on my predictions. Paul Dano, Judd Hirsch also in the mix. And I'm just thinking like, man, this looks really sweet. And it looks, Spielbergian, obviously. And I'm just excited to see, like, learn more about, like, honestly, his childhood, like his upbringing, because I'm not like overly familiar with that. Of course, it's not going to be totally accurate, completely autobiographical, but it is very heavily influenced, and I think that it's going to be a treat, and certainly in the best picture conversation as well. And the reviews and reactions thus far seem to prove that.
Yeah, this was one I did not catch it until right before we were about to hop on to record, and it lived up to the hype completely. Especially after hearing Jake's reactions, it just looks like powerful and comforting, and like that it has that like Spielberg touch to it, where it seems almost like a throwback style movie. Because it is like very personal, and the roots and the origins of his, like you said, semi-autobiographical storytelling. So it just felt very like warm. It was like a warm hug almost. Like obviously there's going to be some drama and some sad moments in here, but I'm with you. It's one that will definitely be a big hit with the families, the emotional, powerful movie of the holiday season, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. And we don't have to wait super long for it, like some of these other movies. It's coming out around Thanksgiving, I believe. So we'll see what happens with that ultimately. But that's going to cover it for our news and trailers. And let's get to what we watched this past week, Zach.
House of the Dragon, episode 4. We are back. Like I said, did not have an episode last week, so didn't get to talk 3 or 4. So anything and everything is up for discussion. But focusing on episode 4, King of the Narrow Sea, the latest episode. After Rhaenyra cuts short her tour of Westeros, Daemon introduces the princess to the Street of Silk after dark. Spicy, spicy, spicy. So where we left off, Rhaenyra basically got permission from her father that she can have the choice to make her own match. So she's off, on the Rhaenyra Bachelorette tour, hosting all sorts of potential suitors, and she's just sick of it. She's had enough, so she decides to book it home. And who else is there but cousin Daemon? And we knew from day one that there was some tension here, some chemistry. And oh boy, does this take it to the next level, Johnny.
Hi, yay. A hot D lived up to its title. I tweeted that out yesterday. This was definitely the most scandalous, let's say, episode yet. And it was honestly, this might have been the best one. I mean, this has been such an impressive show. I mean, with so many expectations placed on it, so much doubt from people that felt burned by Game of Thrones. And 4 episodes in, we're almost halfway through the first season. They have just continued to crush it. And whether it's the action or the political intrigue, just the scenes of 2 characters in a room speaking to one another, I feel like just the intrigue grows, the drama grows, and this might be the new like high mark for the season, because the stuff with Rhaenyra, the stuff with Rhaenyra and Daemon, we also have what's going on between Viserys and Daemon. We have Crispin joining the fray as well. Sir Crispin,
Kristen, I believe, with a T.
It is Kristen, yes. But as Daemon would remind everyone, is Sir Crispin. But he is also getting himself intermingled, maybe a little too much. But it just was a really fun, like, we were hooting and hollering watching this episode. Me and my girlfriend and my brother and his wife. It was really fun. And we have it was much less action, obviously, compared to last week when we had that big battle.
Different kind of action.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say there's maybe even more action this episode than any of the others. But yeah, it was really just a delight to see this one. And I think most impressive is how, again, without having to go too spectacular in some ways, they've continued to build anticipation and the excitement going into the midway point of season 1 next week, which looks set up to be just I don't know. I'm nervous. I'm excited. Maybe I'm just anxious overall. But this one was, like I said, not to be disappointed by any means. Did you have a particular favorite scene or favorite moment or like direction that this episode?
Oh, you know the favorite scene. This is the thing that Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, that'll do to you, is that we're out here rooting for incest. I've seen the comments that say there were tweets out there that said, it's not my fault if incest has great chemistry. Make them not have good chemistry. I'm not good. Like, you can't deny that.
Yeah.
So it's the Daemon and Rhaenyra scene was obviously a very good sequence. And then I did like the follow-up with her and Kristen, because this was one of the few episodes that was, when I might butcher the stats, but I believe this is the 4th episode of House of the Dragon, and it already has the same amount or more episodes directed by women.
Oh yeah.
Than all of Game of Thrones had, which is obviously great on its own, but you could definitely see that in these intimate sex scenes that we're coming across. Like, this was 100%. Like, these were like the most like tasteful and actually like true romantic and intimate moments that we've seen, like, versus some of the previous stuff from Game of Thrones, or even like the earlier brothel scenes and sex scenes from House of the Dragon. So that was a very like welcome surprise that there was like some tenderness here, and like obviously with a character like Rhaenyra and this moment that is her finding empowerment and exploring on her own, rather than like after standing up to her father and like getting a voice for herself. Like, this was very surprising and refreshing for this world.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you pointed out, because I definitely agree. I mean, first off, yeah, it's an awesome stat that they're already kind of leveling the playing field somewhat, especially compared to Game of Thrones. But you can absolutely feel it, like, and knowing that either before or after the episode, like, it's like, oh, like, that totally makes sense, because I think it could have been it could have been not so tasteful, let's say. And it wouldn't have been as effective. I feel like, especially the scene with Rhaenyra and Daemon when they go out, they sneak out together and they're like in that brothel, like orgy kind of situation happening. And it is like it does have you rooting for them to like, I don't even know, I don't even know it means like get together or like what I'm expecting to come out of this or like what I'm hoping to come out of this. I feel like a lot of people are like gonna have to navigate their feelings about this show and this relationship in particular going forward. But I just thought that it was really well done where it was like I was like, oh my God, like what do I actually think about this? Like what do I want to see come out of this? And then we do actually get like a full-blown sex scene with Kristen Cole and Rhaenyra and her for the first time, like really having like an intimate, I guess, like full on sexual encounter and kind of lassoing Kristen Cole into it, because it's not something, it was so close to him just being a good guy and like putting his foot down and not allowing her to take control, because ultimately it is up to him to decide like, okay, am I actually gonna like get with the princess right now, because that's a huge deal. Like he is in the oh God, what the hell's the name of the Kingsguard?
The Kingsguard, yeah.
And they are not supposed to have sex. It's just like the Night's Watch. They are sworn to not procreate or take wives or anything. So
even though Daemon and his crew, and Daemon was the leader of the Kingsguard, they were all up in the brothels.
That is true. Although I will say, to be fair, because I don't know all the rules, I'm sure someone much smarter than us can point that out. I don't know if that applies to the City Watch, like the Gold Cloaks. But I mean, it probably does, I would imagine. But they definitely were not. They were not worried about those rules at all if they do apply. So yeah, that's a great point. And so I'm thinking like, wow, he's really taking a big risk here. Not only is he taking a risk by having sex with someone when he's not supposed to, but it's the fucking princess. Like you can't. If you get her pregnant or like if you get caught or anyone finds out, like you could potentially be like not just lose your job, not just lose like your standing, like you could be killed for that. So
however, I will say, if we know anything from the Targaryen women, this is a little Dany and Dario Naharis over in the Free Cities, because Dario was her right-hand man, her protector, her bodyguard, and also her lover. So this could be where Dany got it from, further up the family tree. And like Dario, the Kristen could just say he was following the princess's orders. I mean, that's right. The easiest way to get out of it. Like he has to do what she says. So they may not believe that, but
accept that.
Yeah, we'll see how that one works out.
Yeah, no, that's definitely one of the spiciest. I mean, this is all going to come to a head. I mean, we saw at the end of this episode what ultimately happens is, Rhaenyra is swearing up and down that she didn't do anything, she's not in the wrong, which she's
There's just a little smooching with Daemon, just a little smooching, not like full-blown incest.
Yeah, it's just ignore her pants being down, ignore that he stormed off, which I'm still not sure like what to make of that. Like I don't know if that was, we've seen him express like sexual frustration before, but I don't know if that was what it was or if it was more like, what am I doing? Like, is this the right thing to do?
It seemed almost to me like he was in charge and then he got turned off when like she started showing it back almost.
Yeah.
Because like she was obviously very into it as well, and like once she started like going for kisses and stuff herself was when he pulled back.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was like he liked the power dynamic, and once she was like equally, which is horrible to say, but like once she was like equally invested, instead of it just being like him making moves, that it was a turn off for him. But I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean that's fair. I think it's an interesting reading of it for sure. And ultimately, I mean, maybe that's something we'll be seeing more of, or like more, we'll get a better understanding of that encounter later on. And that's something I'm just really excited to see, talking about this episode moving to where it might lead us next week and then in later weeks. This just sets the table. Viserys yet again is like, Daemon, just get out of here, go home. And like I'm sure he's just getting tired of trying to exile this guy, his own brother, for constantly giving him political headaches, like let's say, in addition to what Rhaenyra is up to. So it's, we come to a spot where Rhaenyra is being told you need to marry Laenor Valerion, you need to merge the houses. We're gonna have a wedding for you. You're gonna do your job. Alicent and Rhaenyra, their relationship is on the rocks because she's kind of going to bat for her, but she feels like, is she lying to me? Like, they've already had a rocky relationship. Viserys is obviously none too pleased. And then Daemon, he's being told to leave again, to go to your lady wife. But I don't know if I see him leaving without a fight or causing more of a ruckus.
Since he wants another wife.
He wants another wife. He's willing to take two. He's that kind of a guy. He's that grateful. So we're gonna see what happens with that. And then the other key kind of shifting component here that we saw at the tail end is Otto Hightower is getting a little bit of his comeuppance because Viserys read the hell out of this man.
With the help of Rhaenyra, though. Rhaenyra standing up to her father, saying,
"Yeah,
Rhaenyra, I will marry Valerian if you perform your kingly duties and realize that you can no longer this man's interests are no longer aligned with yours. He's working against you."
Yeah.
So shout out to her for helping pull the strings there.
Yeah. No,
Viserys would not, with his moldy ass back, would not do anything to show a spine or to stand up to someone without another person pushing him to do it.
Right. Yeah, that's another great point. And that's so true. Rhaenyra kind of comes out on top in this episode, I feel like. And
stock up, stock down. Here we go. What you got?
Up, stock down. My stock is way up on Rhaenyra. She knows what she wants. She's going after it. She's kind of doing her duty at the same time. She's not going too stupid with her decision making. And she is in a position where, I mean, she really gets with Laenor. That's a good gig, I would say, and that's a good match. And then also at the same time, she was able to get Otto Hightower the hell out of there by kind of, in some ways, manipulating her father and trying to get him to see, at least from her perspective, that hey, he's kind of biased. He's not looking after your best interest. Maybe he's looking too much after himself or his family. So I think I'm way up on Rhaenyra right now. I have more faith in her than ever, and I'm very very sad that it's going to be her last week. That actress Millie Alcock's last week is next episode. So I'm very nervous to see the next performance that we're going to get from the next actor, but very very impressed so far with her. So that's my biggest stock up by far.
Agreed. I will say that I believe her name's Emily Carey, the actress who plays Alicent, yes. Young Alicent. She great. Said fantastic as well. She said in an interview this week that there were being discussions of bringing back her and Millie as the young women in season 2. So maybe we can get some sort of continuation of this timeline, any flashbacks or anything. So that would be very exciting because this is going to be 3-4 seasons, whatever they have. And it'll be a big bummer if these two fantastic actresses are only in 5 episodes before the older versions take over. So that's stock up for the fans if they come back. But I'm with you. Big stock up on Rhaenyra. I'm buying all the Rhaenyra stock. Very excited to see her continue to step up and make these power moves. But at the same time, major stock up for Willem Blackwood. Big time player early on in the episode during the dating circuit. Rhaenyra dismisses him as a child, because he is probably like meant to be like 11 years old, maybe, as he's proposing to her basically.
Yeah.
And then stock down for Gerald Bracken. I'm having to look up these names, but the guy who talks shit. He fucked around and found out. That's what we'll say, because Willem puts him right through the heart with his sword. So that was a sad way to go out, talking shit and getting killed by an 11-year-old for this older fellow. But big stock up and stock down there. Also, I'm hesitant to say, I'll say, not up, not down. We're holding for Otto Hightower because he did get demoted by no longer being Hand of the King. However, I think that has lit a fire under him. We see in the preview for next week, he's saying like, you have to get Aegon ready to take the throne. The king will die, blah, blah, blah. So I assume that's King dying from, just his mortal wounds that he's been, the different sores all over him, or if maybe Otto is putting some plan into motion for his grandson. So it's easy to say stock down just because of his demotion, but we'll see what actually happens with him moving forward, because I think he's the Littlefinger of this season, who's always scheming and working to get himself and his family advanced. So I'm holding steady there. But
Okay.
I know you gave your stock ups. Did you have a stock down?
He's got that hold. Okay, I see you. I see you. I would say if Rhaenyra's up, that stuff. I agree with you holding on Otto. I feel like he's not wanting to go away quietly, or if he is going away, he will be working from the shadows, maybe. Like a Littlefinger. But as far as someone going down, I don't know. I feel like at the end of this episode, Daemon's kind of down. I'm not like too bullish on his position because he's being told get the hell out of here. But I would also say, nervously, because I like the guy, I think I'm selling Cole. I'm selling Sir Crispin, because he made a very dumb decision, I feel like, hooking up, and he's gonna be on pins and needles.
He's giving Jon Snow as well as the fact, he's so honorable, like he knows he did something wrong, like he's the type of dude who will go and confess himself to having done this, right, and get in trouble. So I'm with you there
about guys thinking with their not their brains, but other parts of their bodies. That doesn't go well, and it usually comes back to bite you potentially. So we'll see what happens, but I'm just overall very, very pleased with this episode, very pleased with this show. It's starting to become, we're 4 episodes in, 6 to go, I believe, is my understanding. So this could be the show of the year when all is said and done, based on the where we're hitting it right now. We're hitting the stride.
Definitely. Well, that's House of the Dragon episode 4. We will be back next week to discuss the halfway point, get a little mid-season check-in. But let's go ahead and move on over to the big screen, talking Barbarian. This is a horror thriller movie, little low-key movie, I would say. That's kind of, I was not particularly up to date on this. I did not know for a long time that it was coming. It's from 20th Century, so it's got the big studio backing, but prior to a couple weeks out, when word started trickling out about this movie and it getting these positive reviews, this is the second week in a row, I think, that I've gone into, or second episode in a row after 3,000 years of longing, that I've gone through without really doing a ton of research, and I'm having great success with that, because I really like 3,000 years, and this one is the most absolutely nuts, holy shit movie that I've seen in quite a while. A huge what the fuck moment, jaw dropping twist. Because I feel like we'll have to throw the spoiler alert out here early because of just that twist, and because what I am saying right now is, see this movie with as little context as possible, as little preparation, go in as blind as you can, and then come back and listen to the podcast, because I want to be able to talk about it in its full glory, and I don't want to have to dance around it. So we'll go ahead and throw that spoiler warning out here and get down to business. But quick rundown on what it actually is. Starring Georgina Campbell, Bill Skarsgård, and Justin Long. So solid cast there, obviously, with Bill Skarsgård in there as Pennywise. That's a horror legend already. But we're sitting at a 92% critic score, 73% audience score. I came out of this solid 83 out of 100. Johnny, do you have a number, a score before we get down to business?
Yeah, I'm right around that neighborhood. I'd say like a 75, mid 70s probably. I really was pleased with this one.
Awesome. Very good to be aligned here. I'm excited to talk about it. Quick plot synopsis before we break it down. Traveling to Detroit for a job interview, a young woman books a rental home. But when she arrives late at night, she discovers that the house is double booked and a strange man is already staying there. Against her better judgment, she decides to spend the evening, but soon discovers that there's a lot more to fear than just an unexpected house guest. So for me, I am pretty sure that is all I had based on this going in. I don't know if I watched the trailer. If I did, it was long before actually going to see the movie. So that's very intriguing. You know, if you just read that synopsis, you're ready to go. Like, this is okay. Like, we know that the man is not necessarily, he could be a threat, but he's not the biggest threat. And this movie has, to me, it was like this perfect balance of like, creepy shit is happening and I have no idea where it's gonna go.
Yeah.
Because I'm like waiting and I'm like, okay, so is this going to go the supernatural route? Is this a demon? Is this a ghost? What is it some paranormal haunting? Okay, is it a monster down there? Is it a serial killer? Is it like a real life thing? And there was just a lot of different ways this could go, because the way it's set up is that after the whole double booking, getting to know the guy, is the guy the bad guy? We'll see. But like the big thing is that like a door is left open, like a door creaks open in the middle of the night with no one there to do it, to open the door, and then it just kind of goes from there. And it kept me guessing until this big twist, and then it was just like jaw drop for the rest of the movie. I want to save the big twist for a little bit later once we get some more initial thoughts out of there, and then we can dive into it. But Johnny, talk me through it. What was the mindset here? What was the reaction?
Yeah. Yeah, you're bang on with everything thus far. I really liked this. I mean, it's just so fun when you get to sit down and watch a movie. I'd seen the trailer several times because they played it a lot over the last couple of months at movies that I went to see. And I thought, damn, that's such a good trailer. Like I usually these kind of horror movies, I write them off, or maybe I'm just like, I feel like that's not going to go very well. It's just going to be kind of cheap, or like, not very actually scary, or just not interesting enough for me. But I went into this open-minded. I thought he had good reactions, good reviews. I was pretty impressed by that. And so by the time I got to sit down and watch this thing, I was just hoping for something that would surprise me, I think, more than anything. And I also wanted to be scared. And this movie definitely scared me. That first 30, 45 minutes, it's got you on the edge of your seat. It's got you pretty creeped out. I was definitely looking to cover my eyes maybe. But where it goes from there, that is the most surprising thing, certainly. And that's what I was looking for, and it did not disappoint. There's not one moment, even though it gives you plenty of opportunities to be like, is this what this is? Is that who that's going to be? Is this where this is going to develop into? It does not. There's no way that you could ever guess ultimately. And I think that they did such a nice little slow burn getting to that point.
Oh, for sure.
And then kind of spinning the wheels off the whole train car.
Definitely. And the way that this is split into basically like two movies, kind of the first part, we've got Georgina Campbell, who plays the main character. What was her name? Tess. So we've got Tess, who is the one going to check into the house, meets Keith there, Bill Skarsgård's character. And we've got this little story between them two. They're at this creepy house. I'll get into some more details here, but basically, something like the door opens in the middle of the night. And then she ends up, as all people do, they go down to the basement in these horror movies. But she gets locked in the basement because the door drifts shut, and then discovers like a secret passage back there, some creepy room with an old school camera set up, a bed in there. Horrible things have happened here, you can tell. A little bit of blood on the wall, but she's locked in the basement. And then finds not just that creepy room, the secret tunnel, but another secret tunnel back there. And in an ode to Jordan Peele, we get a nope. She knows better than to mess with any of this stuff. So she just has to wait until Keith gets back home and lets her back out. And at this point, it's still up in the air whether or not, okay, is Keith, like, he was already here when we got here. Is this some ploy that he actually does live here, that he trapped her down here? Nope, he lets her out. She says that she heard something, saw something down there. She needs to get out, but he wants to go and check it out. And then we get this horrifying twist. Very It's honestly a Parasite type twist because we're down in the basement and there's a secret tunnel leading to some massive reveal. So, and it's at like the halfway point in the movie. So yeah, this is very Parasite in a very different way.
Damn, I hadn't made
but
that connection, but yeah, you're kind of right. That is funny how that
it
that
was one of the first things I thought of. But the fact that okay, she refuses to go back down there. His dumbass wants to go and check it out, explore. He goes all the way down the deepest tunnel, and then she doesn't hear from him, goes down to check a little bit, hears screaming, hears for help, goes down. This is the most unhinged, like jaw dropping, face squeezing, hand clenching, and honestly, what the fuck laughter that we got in the theater as well. Pretty full theater, but just an absolute like behemoth of a woman, 6+ feet,
Oh my god.
titties dangling. She's been down there for years. She's strong. This is like a mutant, basically. And she's smashing in Keith's head on the wall. My man is dead. And then we get this cut to part 2 of the movie. I know Josh Jake had been discussing that would have been in the perfect time for a title card to drop, 45 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
That would have been epic, but didn't happen. Instead, we just get a cut to Justin Long's character, who at this point I'd forgotten he was even in the movie. Justin Long as AJ. I won't get into the full specifics of his character just for the sake of time, but he's just like this douchebag guy who has to come. He gets charged with he's an actor, gets charged with sexual assault, and needs to offload some assets. Turns out he's actually the owner of said house that all of this was going on in, and he had been renting it out. So he comes.
Oh my gosh, one of the funniest
house.
movie moments of the year, dude.
Yes, 100%. He comes to this house, finds that there are people. He's trying to sell it, fix it up, get it listed. Finds that there's people here. There's a car here. There's clothing, suitcases, whatever. Doesn't know what's happening. We find out it's been 2 weeks since the incident with Tess, because that's when they supposedly checked out, but nobody has come to clean the place. So he thinks people might be squatting here. He finds this tunnel, goes down, does not call for help, does not look for, or isn't scared of anything. Instead, immediately checks his computer, does underground space count as square footage, because all he's worried about is making more money, having a better listing. Absolutely hysterical. And then we get these cuts, these scenes with him using his tape measure, going down the tunnel. Okay, we go to that secret room where the horrible stuff has clearly happened. Okay, let's get the square footage here. Then he finds that extra tunnel. This is like not a finished basement. This is down in the depths in like a mine. And he is just the world's longest tape measure going down the stairs backwards, and is not bothered by any of the horrifying cages around him or the darkness. Just complete buffoon who's out here trying to make some money. And then he, of course, gets captured by Big Mama as well.
It so killed me when he was like, he's measuring it down the tunnel, like underground, and he's like, you're expecting that when he turns the corner and sees the cages, he's gonna be like, oh my god, like what the hell is going on? I need to get the hell out of here. And instead he sees the cages, like, what the hell is this? And then it cuts to him measuring around the cages.
Exactly. And the fact that later during the escape scene, he gets screwed over because he steps on the measuring tape measure that was left
and
there.
He was using, yeah. So it yeah, it's really it's a crazy movie. Like that's really the only way to describe it. It's nuts. It's insanity. And I feel like we don't get enough movies like that, especially from the major studios. Like you mentioned at the top, this was a Searchlight Pictures film, and fairly low budget, I would say. I'm not sure what the exact number is, but I would say this is pretty not cheap, but it was made conservatively. And I'm hoping that they make a decent return of some sort, at least, because I think that for a quote unquote original, this isn't based on anything. You can see inspiration from other films that we've kind of mentioned here and there, but it's original and it's scary and it's funny and it's, pretty smart in a lot of ways. And it's well made, well shot, well edited. Great performances, I think, from the key actors. So I was just a big fan. And I think, like I said earlier, it's kind of at the top of the show, spooky season's here. Halloween is not too far away now. And I think this is like the first horror movie of the season where I'm like, you should all go see this. And I would go watch it again. And I just may this week, but
I'm totally with you there. Definitely want to see this one again. Spooky season, like you said, right around the corner. But the one thing about this is that, like we just mentioned with all that Justin Long stuff, him measuring, like that's not the only humor here, is that this is like, we've said it multiple times, just an unhinged, like what the hell movie. But at the same time, it's like, it's scary, but it's not like horror. I don't even know how to describe it, because there's so much comedy here as well, and like dark humor, that it's like, our theater, like I said, it was like uncomfortable laughter because we're just like so shocked. But it's not, like you're watching like The Ring or Hereditary or something that's like just absolutely like nightmare. Like, sure, you probably will have nightmares about the creature, but like as a movie overall, like it's not like nightmare fuel. This was like fun, entertaining, kept you guessing. And I feel like people can handle this, like maybe someone who's like, oh no, I don't really do horror movies. Like I feel like this could still be something that is worth giving a chance for people like that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. It's just so different. It's hard to compare it to anything, but it's worth seeing. And I think, a lot of emphasis has been placed on, well, you'll never see where this is going, or like going as cold as possible. Like, don't let it get spoiled. I think even if you know some of the details, I think it's still very much like a fun ride and like worth watching, especially in a theater with like a group of people. Like it's a very, very fun, entertaining, and it's not too not like overly long. I thought it was pretty brisk. If anything, I think it could have been even a little bit longer in like towards the back half, just to get things like even more well-rounded. But I liked it, and would definitely watch again and give it the thumbs up. So like I said, we've had good horror movies this year. I mean, we've had Nope, of course, Jordan Peele's latest film, and trying to think, there's at least something else, X, of course, and we have Pearl this week, which is a kind of follow-up, a prequel to X, which I quite liked. So it's been just a good year overall, and it looks like it's gonna be a good season.
Scream, don't forget Scream, fresh.
Yeah.
Fresh on Hulu. Bodies, if you count that as horror.
Yeah, very good. So yeah, I mean, this is it's a good time, and I'm curious to see. I know the director, his only other films that he's done was in a co-directing with someone else. So this was his first solo gig, and I think there's a lot of promise here. I'm very curious to see what he does next, and I hope he continues to do original, bold, funny, hilarious, disturbing, like smart movies, because this is a very interesting like start. So yeah, absolutely a winner in my book.
I'm with you there. 2 thumbs up, solid 4 stars, 83 out of 100 for me, about a 75-ish for Johnny. Is that correct?
That's right.
All right, there you have it, Barbarian. Go check it out if you haven't seen it yet. Sorry we ruined it all for you, but hopefully you've already seen it at this point. But if not, go see it again. Go see it for the first time. It's a good time. But that just about does it for our episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for tuning in week and week out. We could not do it without your support.
Absolutely. Another great, fun episode here recording. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did making it. Please follow on Twitter and Instagram. Keep up with us. Throw a like on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube. Keep up with all the episodes as well as other content Zach and I are pumping out here, especially over the next few months. It's only going to get better. So you can find those accounts at Inside Film Room.
And while you're at it, be sure to subscribe to our newsletter, The Rewind. You can find that on our website and on our social media pages. And be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio. Anywhere you can find a podcast, we are there. And be sure to come back next week for another great episode. We'll see you then.